February 1st, 1959. The northern Ural Mountains. 9 experienced hikers are dead. Their tent is sliced open from the inside. The temperature is negative 40 degrees Celsius. Their boots are still in the tent. Some of them are barefoot. Nobody knows why they ran. That is the question that has kept investigators, scientists, and cold case researchers occupied for 65 years. How does a group of trained mountaineers abandon their only shelter in the dead of night, half-dressed, in one of the most lethal environments on the Soviet continent? What were they running from? And why hasn't every answer anyone has offered managed to close the case completely? The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student at the Ural Polytechnic Institute. He was not a beginner. None of them were. The expedition carried a Grade 3 certification, the highest difficulty rating in the Soviet Union at the time, requiring candidates to traverse 300 kilometers of punishing terrain. There were 10 of them when they set out on January 23rd. One man, Yuri Yudin, turned back early with a leg injury. He was the only one who came home. The remaining 9 made camp on the eastern slope of a mountain the local Mansi people called Holat Siakol. That name translates directly to Dead Mountain. When search parties reached the camp on February 26, nothing made sense. The tent had been cut open with knives. From the inside, their gear was untouched. Warm coats, food, boots, all of it sitting exactly where it had been left. The hikers had gone out into 40 below darkness in their socks and didn't come back. The first 2 bodies turned up beneath a cedar tree nearly a mile from the tent. They were in their underwear. There were traces of a small fire. 3 more were found between the tree and the tent, as if they'd turned around and tried to crawl back. The last 4 weren't found until May, buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. Those 4 had the injuries that made this case impossible to close. 2 of them had fractured ribs. 1 had a crushed skull. The force required to produce those fractures was comparable to a car crash. But there was no external bruising, no cuts on the skin, no sign that anything had struck them from the outside. 1 woman was missing her tongue entirely. 2 of the bodies showed traces of radiation on their clothing. The official Soviet investigation closed the case with a single sentence: the hikers had died from an unknown compelling force. That was the full explanation. The files were sealed. What killed them? That debate has never stopped. More than 75 separate theories have been published, ranging from a classified Soviet missile test to infrasound-induced panic to a Yeti attack. In 2021, researchers at ETH Zurich published a study pointing to a delayed slab avalanche. A layer of snow had dislodged hours after the group fell asleep, crushing 4 of the hikers before anyone could react. That model accounts for the internal injuries without external bruising. It explains the cut tent. It explains why rescuers found no debris 3 weeks later, because small slab events on that slope erased themselves within hours. But it doesn't explain the missing tongue. It doesn't explain the radiation. And it doesn't explain why the Soviet government sealed a case that a natural disaster should have closed without any secrecy at all.